The grand hall at Windsor Castle was bathed in the warm glow of crystal chandeliers, filled with the soft murmur of international dignitaries, senior royals, and seasoned palisades. It was supposed to be a flawless exhibition of royal unity, a polished performance designed to assure the world that the House of Windsor stood unshakable after months of intense private strain. But in a single, devastating fraction of a second, that carefully constructed illusion shattered. The Princess of Wales, Catherine, stepped forward through the receiving line, locked eyes directly with Queen Camilla, and made a calculated choice that sent shockwaves through the entire British establishment. The traditional handshake, the expected curtsy, the polite, practiced exchange that everyone in the room was anticipating simply did not happen. It was not a slip of memory. It was not a momentary distraction. Catherine moved through that line with the same flawless, controlled grace she has displayed for over a decade. But this time, her absolute control was the weapon. Her cold silence was louder than any shout, and within seconds, every courtier and guest in that room understood exactly what was unfolding right before their eyes. If you value deep, unvarnished insights into the hidden dynamics of the British monarchy, please take a brief moment to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. Your support allows us to continue bringing you the true stories behind the palace walls. To truly understand the gravity of what occurred at Windsor, one must understand the rigid theater of a royal receiving line. It is not merely a polite greeting. It is a visible manifestation of power, rank, and hierarchy. Every individual knows their place, their cues, and their expected gestures. Catherine had performed this ritual thousands of times without a single misstep. So, when she approached Camilla and deliberately withheld the expected signs of deference, it was an undeniable declaration. Camilla stood waiting, entirely expecting the public gesture that would signal to the room that the hierarchy was secure and her authority as queen consort was unquestioned. Instead, Catherine offered nothing more than the sharpest, coolest nod before gliding past. The reaction on Camilla's face was instantaneous. Her expression tightened, frozen in that excruciating half-second where a person realizes they have been publicly rejected in front of 50 elite witnesses, with absolutely no way to retaliate without causing an even greater scene. She had demanded the room's respect, but from Catherine, she received an icy, unforgiving wall of silence. Prince William saw the entire interaction unfold before the rest of the room could even process the tension. Without making a scene or uttering a word, he instinctively moved closer to his wife, positioning himself firmly by her side. It was a subtle, powerful movement that signaled absolute solidarity. He knew this was not a random act of pettiness. He understood that the roots of his wife's defiance ran far deeper than a single chilly evening at Windsor. Catherine was not lashing out in blind anger. She was delivering a precise, measured boundary. Across the room, King Charles immediately noticed the sudden shift in temperature. The monarch literally lowered his program, his eyes tracking the unfolding drama with a sudden, sinking dread. Charles understood instantly that a bitter family conflict, which the palace had desperately tried to keep confined behind soundproof doors, had just spilled into the public eye. The primary duty of the sovereign is to maintain the appearance of order when personal pain threatens public duty. And in that agonizing moment, Charles could feel that order slipping away. Camilla looked toward her husband, silently pleading for some form of royal intervention, but the king remained perfectly still, offering her nothing. His stoic silence only added to the suffocating weight in the room. The fracture that became visible at Windsor did not originate there. It was ignited weeks earlier during a private event that was supposed to cement family bonds, the St. George's Chapel rehearsal dinner. Tucked away within the historic deceptions of Windsor Castle, the dinner was intended to prepare the senior royals for an upcoming state ceremony, ensuring that every movement appeared seamless to the public. Instead, it became the setting for an unforgivable insult. During a quiet moment away from the main bustle of the dinner, Camilla delivered a cold, cutting remark regarding Catherine's position within the family's future, speaking in a low, measured tone designed to mimic helpful advice while carrying maximum malice. Camilla remarked that grace must be earned before it is inherited. She did not need to raise her voice. The words were quiet, but they cut through the immediate space like a blade. Catherine understood the underlying message instantly. It was a deliberate attempt to minimize her years of dedication. A warning from the Queen Consort that future respect would not be freely given, and that Catherine's position alongside William was something she should never take for granted. The psychological weight of that sentence was immense. For Catherine, her role is not a mere title. It represents years of intense public scrutiny, personal sacrifice, and unwavering discipline under the global spotlight. To have that entire journey dismissed with a polished aristocratic insult was a profound wound. William noticed the immediate change in his wife's demeanor, the sudden stillness in her eyes, and the quiet dignity with which she withdrew from the conversation. Later that evening, within the absolute privacy of their quarters, Catherine repeated the exact words to her husband. She spoke with the controlled pain of a woman who had already resolved never to break down in public, but who refused to let the insult be forgotten. William understood immediately why the remark cut so deep, and his resentment toward the lack of protection afforded to his wife began to solidify. King Charles had caught enough of the interaction at the dinner to know that severe damage had been done. Yet, choosing short-term peace over long-term resolution, the king opted for silence, hoping the tension would simply dissolve. It was a critical miscalculation. Camilla left the dinner believing she had successfully asserted her dominance, while Catherine carried the quiet burden of that insult through the following weeks, resolving that she would no longer participate in a charade of warmth where basic respect had been denied. When the formal proceedings at Windsor finally concluded and the guests began to disperse, the public performance ended, and the true confrontation began behind closed doors. Camilla, burning with wounded pride, intercepted Catherine in a private side room, determined to demand an explanation for the public snub. She closed the heavy wooden door behind them, ensuring they were shielded from the remaining guests, though the tension was so thick it practically radiated through the walls. In a sharp, hushed voice, Camilla demanded to know why Catherine had chosen that specific moment in front of dozens of influential witnesses to humiliate her. Catherine stood her ground completely, refusing to flinch or mirror Camilla's agitated tone. With absolute composure, she looked directly at the Queen Consort and delivered a devastating response, stating that respect could not be demanded in public after being denied in private. The simplicity of the statement left Camilla momentarily speechless. Catherine did not raise her voice. She chose each word with lethal precision, ensuring the confrontation could never be dismissed as a mere emotional outburst. She explicitly reminded Camilla of the rehearsal dinner insult, making it undeniably clear that the wound had not healed and that she would no longer compromise her own dignity to maintain a false narrative of royal harmony. Before Camilla could respond, Prince William stepped into the room. He didn't interrupt Catherine or raise his voice. Instead, he quietly stood beside his wife, making one thing unmistakably clear: she had the full support of the future king. In that moment, Camilla realized Catherine could no longer be isolated or pressured into silence. The line had been drawn, and it wasn't going to move. Within minutes, King Charles was informed about the confrontation. As he heard what had happened, he reportedly realized that Catherine now held the moral high ground. Camilla had demanded respect through her title, while Catherine had stood for something far more powerful: personal dignity. The balance inside the palace had shifted, and the image of perfect royal unity began to crack. By the next morning, the story had exploded across Britain. Newspapers were dominated by one unforgettable headline: "The Hands That Never Met." A single photograph of Catherine walking past a motionless Camilla became the center of national debate. What many first assumed was a simple breach of protocol quickly became something much bigger, a symbol of a growing divide within the royal family. The question was no longer whether Catherine had been rude. It was what had pushed the calm and disciplined Princess of Wales to take such a public stand. As the headlines spread, William reassured Catherine that the public saw strength, not scandal. Millions admired the quiet dignity she displayed after years of loyal service. Outside Windsor, crowds openly voiced their support, while the palace struggled to regain control with vague statements that few people believed. Whether every detail of this story is true or simply part of ongoing royal speculation, one thing is undeniable: it has captured the world's attention because it reflects a deeper question about loyalty, respect, and the future of the monarchy. Catherine's silence became more powerful than any speech, proving that true strength is sometimes shown not by what you say, but by what you refuse to accept. What do you think? Was Catherine right to draw the line, or should she have handled the situation differently? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoy deep royal stories, exclusive palace insights, and the latest royal drama, subscribe now and join us for the next unforgettable story